I gotta share this crazy story. I was just scrolling through Facebook Marketplace looking for some good deals when I saw this post. It was a man selling a brand new TV for like half the price it usually goes for. I'm all about saving some cash, so I messaged the guy right away. He seemed pretty chill, said he needed to sell it as soon as possible because he was moving out of town or something. I was blinded by the idea of getting a sweet deal, so I ignored this red flag. We agreed to meet up at a kinda shady-looking parking lot in the evening. So, fast forward to the meetup. I'm waiting there, feeling kinda uneasy because it's getting dark and there aren't many people around. Then, the man showed up with the TV. At first, everything seemed to be going okay. He kept watching around nervously, like he was expecting someone to jump out from behind a dumpster or something. I tried to brush it off, but my gut was telling me something was off. Then, out of nowhere, he starts rushing me to hurry up with the cash. I'm getting major alarm bells at this point, but I figure I'll just quickly check the TV to make sure it's legit. So, I ask him whether I could take a closer look. But he starts getting super defensive, saying he doesn't have time for that, and that I should just trust him. I stand my ground and insist on checking the TV. That's when things took a dark turn. He suddenly pulls out a knife from his jacket and starts threatening me, saying he'll stab me if I don't hand over the cash right now. I'm freaking out, adrenaline pumping like crazy. But I manage to keep my cool and slowly back away, keeping an eye on the knife. I tell him I don't want any trouble and that I'll just leave, no harm done. Surprisingly, he let me go without chasing after me or anything. I ran to my car, heart racing, and drove out of there as fast as I can. It wasn't until I got home that it really sunk in just how close I came to getting seriously hurt. Moral of the story: always trust your instincts, and never ever meet up with sketchy people from Facebook Marketplace in deserted parking lots. It's just not worth the risk. This messed up story happened to me recently. I was just trying to make a little extra cash, so I decided to sell some stuff on Facebook Marketplace. Seemed easy enough, but I was wrong. I had this old laptop lying around that I didn't use anymore. Figured someone out there might want it, so I listed it up for sale. It wasn't anything fancy, but it still worked fine. Anyway, not long after I posted it, I got a message from a guy who seemed interested. In the beginning, everything went well. We chatted back and forth for a bit, and he said he wanted to buy the laptop. He even offered to pay more than I was asking for, which was weird, but I was too hyped about making more cash. So we agreed to meet in front of a shopping center near my place. I figured it was a public enough spot, just to be safe. But when I got there, things started getting weird. The man showed up right on time, which I guess was a good sign. But as soon as he stepped out of his car, I got this creepy vibe from him. Like he was smiling, but it didn't reach his eyes, and he kept looking at me like he was nervous or something. I tried to just get over with the deal, so I showed him the laptop and he inspected it for a minute. Then, out of nowhere, he starts asking all these personal questions, like where I lived, if I lived alone, stuff like that. I was just about to wrap things up and hand over the laptop when he suddenly grabs it out of my hands and rushes to his car. I was stunned for a second, but then I started yelling after him, telling him to come back. But he just jumped in his car and drove away. I was left standing there in shock, feeling totally violated. I mean, not only did this guy try to steal from me, but he also made me feel really unsafe. I reported it to the police, but they said there wasn't much they could do without more information. A few days later, I get a message on Facebook from someone claiming to be the guy's sister. She said she found out what he did and apologized on his behalf. Apparently, he had some kind of mental health issues and wasn't taking his meds or something. I don't know if I believe her or not, but either way, it was a wake-up call for me. Selling stuff online might seem like an easy way to make money, but you never know who you're dealing with, and things can go from bad to worse real quick. If you want to see more stories like this one, don't forget to subscribe. Now, let's continue with the third story. This story happened a few weeks ago when I was selling stuff on Facebook Marketplace. I've heard plenty of weird stories about online deals gone wrong, but I never thought that one day I would be included. I had some old gadgets lying around that I didn't need anymore, so I decided to sell them on Facebook Marketplace. I posted pictures, described the items, and waited for potential buyers to message me. After a couple of days, I got a message from someone. Let's call him Dave. Dave seemed pretty normal at first. He asked some questions about the gadgets and negotiated the price a bit, but nothing seemed off. We agreed to meet near my apartment building. I packed up the gadgets and headed out to meet Dave. He was already there when I arrived, sitting on a bench and scrolling through his phone. He looked just like his profile picture. Average height, average build, nothing remarkable about him. I approached him and greeted him before getting down to business. Dave inspected the gadgets, tested them out, and seemed satisfied with the condition. We negotiated the price a little more, but eventually we made a deal. As I handed over the gadgets to Dave, I noticed something off about his demeanor. And then he said something that sent shivers down my spine. He leaned in close and whispered, "You know, I've been watching you for a while now." I froze. Was this some kind of sick joke? Before I could react, Dave stood up and stuffed the gadgets into his bag. He mumbled something about needing to go and practically sprinted away, leaving me standing there feeling confused and shocked. I shook my head, trying to clear it of the bizarre encounter. Maybe Dave was just socially awkward or something. I tried to put it out of my mind as I headed back home. That night, as I lay in bed trying to sleep, I couldn't stop replaying the event in my mind. Why had Dave said he'd been watching me? And why had he acted so strange? The next day, I decided to do some research. I scrolled through Dave's Facebook profile, hoping to find some clues about who he was and why he'd freaked me out so much. But what I found only made things worse. Dave's profile was practically empty. No pictures, no friends, no posts, nothing. It was like he didn't exist outside of our brief interaction on Facebook Marketplace. I tried to put the whole thing behind me, but my mind refused to let me forget. I started seeing shadows out of the corner of my eye, hearing strange noises in the middle of the night. I even thought I saw Dave outside my apartment a few times, though I couldn't be sure it was him. I was constantly looking over my shoulder. I felt like I was losing my mind, like I was trapped in some twisted nightmare that I couldn't wake up from. Then, just when I thought things couldn't get any worse, I received a message from an unknown number. It was a picture of me, taken from behind as I walked home from work the day before. I stared at the image, feeling a cold sweat break out across my skin. And then came the text that chilled me to the bone. "I told you I've been watching you." I felt like I was going to be sick. Who was this person? How had they gotten my number? And what did they want from me? I tried to call the number back, but it went straight to voicemail. I left a frantic message, demanding answers, but I never heard back. I spent the next few days in a constant state of fear and paranoia, jumping at every sound. I didn't feel safe anywhere. Not in my own home, not even out in public. I knew I had to do something, but I didn't know what. I considered going to the police, but what could I tell them? That some random guy from Facebook Marketplace was stalking me? They'd never take me seriously. In the end, I did the only thing I could think of. I deleted my Facebook account and changed my phone number. I am thinking about moving to a new apartment on the other side of town. I still don't know who Dave is or why he targeted me.